Now, if your content is getting likes, comments and story views, but it hasn't been converted into book calls on your calendar, then unfortunately you are skipping some crucial steps. Now, most coaches think that creating content and creating engagement and getting engagement is going to ultimately lead to more sales. But unfortunately, that is a bit of a dream and it's not really true. Reality is that if you do not have a clear system on how to weaponize your content and use it and leverage it to get people engaged and then to get them onto a sales call, then you're missing out on probably a couple of thousand or tens of thousands of pounds every single month. Now, in this video, I am going to show you exactly how to turn attention from your content into booked and qualified sales calls without you having to push people, without you having to beg for attention, and ultimately without you feeling pushy doing so. Now, unfortunately, some coaches are under the illusion that if they just continue posting content and they continue posting stories, then they're gonna automatically get people DMing them, asking them for information on their coaching. Now, unfortunately, we do not live in a world where that is true. Well, most of us don't anyway. And what we actually have to do is leverage the content and have the correct systems, frameworks, and procedures in place in order for us to really squeeze the most out of our content and get leads out of the content that we create. Now, just because someone likes your reel, engages with your posts, comments on your posts, engages in your stories and all that good stuff, doesn't naturally mean that they're going to take the next step on their own. What you need to do is you need to lead them down the path of engagement to booking a call. And unfortunately, most people don't really know how to do this, which is why they struggle to book calls, even when they've got high engagement, because they do not know how to convert attention into qualified sales calls. Now, not all social media engagement is equal. There are some forms of engagement that have higher amounts of intent behind them than others, so we need to recognize these first before we can move on to getting the calls booked. Now, tier 1 is the highest intent of engagement, and these are essentially the people that are most likely to book a sales call if they engage with you in this way. And these are people that are practically showing quite strong amounts of interest in what you do. These can be people that comment keywords like info underneath your posts. It can be people that actually DM you for information on your coaching, or it can be people that comment on your posts. Let's say, for instance, you put a client testimonial out there and people say, oh my God, this is amazing, or oh my God, I need this. Those people are more likely to actually book in a sales call because there's quite a lot of intent behind the action that they've just taken and the behavior that they've just displayed. For the people that actually show high engagement, like I've just said, the process is quite simple to get them booked onto a sales call. We need to firstly acknowledge their interest, secondly qualify them, and thirdly lead them onto a sales call. Now, if you don't actually have a clear and concise system for this, then you are missing out on easy sales. Then we've got tier number 2, and this is like the mid-tier. This is where people are showing interest, but they're not quite there yet. Now, these are people that typically like your post consistently. They comment on your post saying, great post, or this is super helpful, thank you. Or they vote on the soft polls on your stories. Now, these people won't automatically book in a sales call or express the interest in booking a sales call. They're going to need some warming up. And the key to warming them up is starting low pressure conversations with these people that naturally lead into a discovery process so that you can get one step closer to the call. So let's say, for instance, someone just likes a client transformation post. What I want you to do is I want you to message them and I want you to say, hey, with their name, thank you for liking whoever the name of the client is, their post. I'm guessing you're probably on a bit of a similar journey yourself and you just were looking for some inspiration. This is such a natural and soft entry point to start a conversation. What this is going to do is when they reply, they're probably going to say yes, and then you can ask them the questions that you need to. Say, for instance, oh, amazing, like how do you feel like that's going for you right now? How have you been finding it? How long have you been doing it? And you can start to collate the information that you actually need in order to get that person onto a sales call. Then we've got tier number 3, which is the lowest tier of engagement, which is people that are probably a bit colder. Now, these are people who just like casually watch your content, casually watch your stories, but aren't ready to buy. You might be one of them right now watching this video. You might have seen a couple of my stories, a couple of my posts, a couple of my shorts, a couple of my videos, but you're not necessarily in a position where you're like, right, I need this guy's help. You are tier number 3. You're just watching, taking the value and just chilling. Now, does this mean that you will never buy from me? No, you might get warmed up. You might see a piece of content that really resonates with you and you might think, okay, I really need to work with this guy. But ultimately, the only way that you are going to get warmed up and the only way that you're going to warm up these people is just by consistently posting helpful content, and you can actually use your content to technically follow up with people. because if they start seeing your content on a more regular basis, they're going to build more trust, awareness, and they're going to have you in a higher authoritative state, which means that they probably will buy from you at some point. And they might start to move themselves up the tiers. They might become the medium intent tier, they might become the high intent tier, and then they actually might become a client. So people who, just like your posts and stuff like that, you can do a number of things like send them free resources, just to give value and to give and accrue goodwill. And then you never know, at some point down the line, they might start to warm up a bit more, or you can try to warm them up yourself by sending them value to build trust and then getting into the discovery process. I've obviously got a framework for that inside my academy, so if you want to click the link down below and find out a bit more information, that's cool. If you don't want to, then that's obviously fine as well. So what is the biggest mistake that coaches make that keeps them from turning engagement into booked calls? That is, they assume that engagement equals interest into their service, and they wait for leads to make the first move. Now, if you're a man and you're on a first date, you need to be making the first move. And if you're a coach trying to get clients, then you need to make the first move when they engage. Weird analogy, I know, but I just made that up on the spot. Here's the thing, right? Your leads, 9 times out of 10, are not going to DM you first. It takes a very sort of activated person to DM you and be like, right, can I have information? They must be in a lot of pain, or they've seen something and they're like, right, I really need to work with this guy. 9 times out of 10, you are going to have to be the one to instigate the conversation and to move them down, obviously, the conversation process and closer to a sales call. And your prospects aren't reaching out to you because they're not interested. They're not reaching out because they just need that nudge to take action. And that nudge is obviously us messaging them, using discovery, using qualification, and then getting them onto a sales call. That is what the nudge in this scenario is. So if you're not actually leveraging the engagement that you get from your content every single day, you are not nudging people and you're not moving people closer to a sales call, which essentially means that you're actively leaving sales on the table. So what I want you to do as a 3-step process following this video, I want you to, step number 1, I want you to identify your warmest leads daily. So who's viewed your stories, who's tapped your buttons on your story, who's voted on your polls, who's commented on your reels, who's liked your transformation posts. And I want you to see those people as the lowest hanging fruit that you can collect quite quickly. So that's step number 1. Now, step number 2 is to start low pressure conversations with these people so that you can naturally bridge the conversation and obviously get a conversation opened up. Now, I've touched on how you can do that previously in this video and on other videos. So if you want to circle back to them and look at the exact messaging framework, that's cool. Or if you want to learn how to do it step by step and have the full framework, you can invest in my academy, wherever. But if you actually want the full framework, obviously you've got the link to my academy down below, which you can check out. But there are obviously a lot of messaging frameworks that I've been over in this video and previous videos. So I want you to start low pressure conversations so that you can get the conversation started and get them that step closer to a call. And step number 3, when you've done the discovery and the qualification, then you can obviously transition into booking the call. You can basically find out if this is something that they feel like they want help with, and then you can obviously ask them, would it be helpful for us to have a chat to show you how I can actually help? And then we can transition into getting the call booked. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know exactly how to turn your content engagement into cash, essentially, at this point. So put those steps into practice, have a go with them. If you've got any questions, obviously my Instagram is down below, so you can reach out and ask me a question. Or if you don't have any questions and you take it away and make cash with it, then I'm expecting my commission check in the mail. But aside from that, I'll catch you in the next video.